Good evening, friends, and welcome to yet another awesome session of Mindful Living. Our session today is very different. This is the first session that we are doing on AI, but I can assure you this is not going to be the last one because AI is something um, that is evoking more fear than excitement in the minds of the people. And today we have Ranjit Varakant talking to us about how AI is disrupting everything that we around us, and now whether it is a threat or a amplifier of our potential and how we can achieve extraordinary success. So we will just run a poll, and I request you to respond to the poll. There are two questions we are asking you. Do you think AI is a threat, or do you think AI is an ally? And it's an anonymous poll, so we don't know whatever. Yeah, feel free to respond to that. Vaishnavi, can we have the poll, please? Yes. So please respond to the poll. As a coach, sometimes I wonder, and sometimes I ask my clients to use AI. So yeah, okay, thank you. So we have some responses coming. No, AI is not a threat. It can amplify. No. Yeah, so it looks like we have some evolved audience and we have some confusion. Can we have some more responses, please? Quickly. We have far more people than who have responded. Okay, maybe we will end the poll now and see the result. So we have 25% of the people saying that it's not a threat. 75% people not sure, but 100% people agree that this is AI can help us achieve extraordinary results. So then I can assure you, friends, that you are at the right place at the right time, because that is what our session today is focused on. And we have a very eminent personality, Mr. Ranjit Varakant, with us. Ranjit is the head of innovation and AI with a global fintech company, Empower Financing. He has spent 25 years at the epicenter of technology disruption, from the dot-com crash to the AI revolution, both in US and in India. He built companies, he has consulted for Fortune 500 companies and led transformation initiatives across the continents, watching some professionals falter while others surge ahead with each wave of change. His journey, interestingly, has revealed a hard truth. Expertise can become obsolete overnight. He also has uncovered the repeatable patterns of those who reinvent quickly and turn disruption into acceleration. He wrote this amazing book in AI. In this book, AI ate my job. Now can AI make me 10x better? Ranjit distills 25 years of lessons and turns this book into a playbook for turning the AI revolution into your biggest career breakthrough. By education, Ranjit is an engineer, mechanical engineer, and MBA from University of Memphis. Ranjit, welcome to this session. We truly appreciate your taking out the time and being with the Mindful Living community today.
Thanks, Ashish. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranjit. In a bit from now, I will hand over the session to Ranjit. But before that, let me share with you what is it that he's going to cover in the session today. He's going to talk about how AI can be really strategic rather than just a glorified search engine. The crisp framework that he has come up with: context, role, interview, synthesize, and partner. Four pillars of excellence: life transformation workshop and practical application. So friends, if you have not got your handbook yet, please grab a notepad or something you can write with, because he's not only going to talk about it, he's going to have do some assignments. So keep your notepads ready to take notes and do what he is going to ask us to do in the workshop. Before I hand over the session to Ranjit, I'll like to introduce myself. My name is Ashish Kumar. I'm the founder of Mindful Living. Uh, the Mindful Living community was started in 2020 when the first lockdown happened. During the lockdown, few of my friends reached out to me and requested me to conduct a session on mindfulness to help them with the stress and anxiety that the lockdown was causing. So over a weekend, I conducted a session on mindfulness. One thing led to other, and today we have grown to be a vibrant community of over 1,000 people who connect every weekend to learn about living consciously and support each other in doing the same. We don't advertise about the work we do. So the only way you can join the community is when somebody invites you to do. So with an open heart, we invite you to join the community and stay connected with us, learn to live mindfully and elevate your life to a new level. This is a no nonsense community where there are no good morning, good night messages, no political, religious posts, just people supporting each other. Prior to starting Mindful Living, I worked in the corporate sector for about 25 years with organizations like Xerox, Tata AIA Life Insurance, Future Generali, and Marsh India. By education, I'm an MBA from SIBM Pune, a cost accountant, fellow of Life Management Institute, and a certified mindfulness meditation teacher. I'm also a mentor to students of IIM Nagpur and author of a best-selling book, Beyond Limits. Here are the links to the Mindful Living WhatsApp community and to the YouTube channel on which there are more than 250 videos of the previous sessions that we have done on this platform. Uh, I will request you to get the most out of this session. Keep your camera on. And if you have a question or comment to make, use the virtual raise hands button and raise your hand, and we will be happy to take your questions. The session will be about an hour or so. And then towards the end also, we will open up for sessions, but keep it interactive. And on that note, Ranjit, I invite you to take this session forward and help us understand the true potential of AI and how we can amplify our own potential using AI.
Sounds good, Aksesh. I'll do my best. And like Ashish mentioned, please free to stop me anywhere if you have questions. Let me start sharing my screen. So one of the things that me and Ashish discussed when about this session is like, what do we focus on, right? Because there are a lot of videos and articles on how can we use this tool to generate a PPT, this tool to generate a video. There are a lot of apps and tools. But today, right, how can we use in a holistical way? As Dr. Geraldine mentioned, right, today AI people are using AI just as a hammer, right, instead of actually using it as a critical tool set, like how a surgeon would use different tools to, when they do surgery. We're kind of using it just one simple way. Whereas this is such an evolved thing, it helps us in so many things. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on the meta strategy, how I use AI and how I encourage my engineering team to kind of embrace AI and to get value out of it. So I'll go through them, some frameworks and methodologies, and we can look at it. And this is basically the reason I wrote this book is I used to coach, especially a lot of underprivileged kids in foundations, because today, a lot of people know about AI, but they don't know how to effectively use it. Like Ashish said, we basically most of people use it as a glorified search engine. Then I told them how they can use it to kind of, have a virtual interview, how they can search for local jobs within a zip code. There's so many things and so many tools that they could use, right? From that, I got to know that there's a lot of potential that AI gives, but a lot of people are not aware of it. And they're just using it simply to find answers or, finish their homework or assignments, but not for deep learning, not to strategize, not to kind of, go over even life challenges, right? When we are faced with life challenge, also we can have a conversation, almost like what do you say, like a consciousness uh, conversation, how we would have with a friend. We could do that, and it is, even though it's AI, what I feel is today, especially in US, right? India, we are lucky, but even if someone has a mental health issue, it takes 6 months to get an appointment. So what do those people do? What do those veterans do? If we have a, kind of a AI which is tailored to those mental health issues, in the meantime, they get the appointment, they can have these conversations, which will help them a little bit. So the overall theme is things are, getting faster, cheaper, better with AI. Now, what does that mean for us? So that's what we'll focus on. And everybody has used ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and most people, what they do is, I need a presentation, let's say, as a NLP training for managers to um, for their success in the organization, for example. That will give very mediocre results because we are not really sharing who the users are, what their age group is, what their profession is, what time duration our training will last for, and things like that. So what happens is it's very generic. Now, with the partnership approach, that's where the true collaboration begins, where we have a dialogue with AI saying that, just you and me, as if we were to create a training material, right? We'll least ask each other questions. Okay, who is this for? Okay, these are senior leaders. And so if the senior leaders, what should be our approach? It can't be pedantic, right? It should be interactive. And also because if you are in training, we know what works better is an interactive workshop rather than just talking about it. We can ask it to incorporate the interactive elements into the training and things like that. So basically, it's again our own expertise. We are just sharing with AI, and then it's able to kind of like a script writer write a script for us. So especially for training professional, right? This helps with deep understanding of psychology. For example, we might know a few things, but AI knows a lot of things, right? We can talk about, I'm training for a school. Help me to create content that also kind of, goes to helps kids understand who learn visually, and also how some kids learn kinesthetically. Also, let's say if someone has ADHD, and how can I also tailor my training to them so that they're attentive throughout the session. So the more inputs we give, and the more, and you can even ask it. So these are the things that we are familiar with. What are the ways can I improve my presentation? And it can give us that feedback. So it's like having a $500 expert talking to you for who charges an hour, $100 an hour, and we can get the full value of that. So, what I've discovered is just to simplify things for everybody, right? I thought this CRISP acronym would help, which kind of talks to the flow, and we can also see a demo wherein we can see how this works. Like first thing, we need to set the context whenever we're giving an assignment to the AI. Like what is it about? Let's say we are creating a training material, or if I'm creating a marketing campaign, we need to give the situation like am I a startup? I'm an enterprise. What is my budget? What is my timeline? Whom I'm targeting? All those questions, right? Otherwise, if I say give me a go-to-market strategy for 3 weeks, it will give something, but it might be meaningless for me. So rather than saying help me with creating a marketing plan, what we would do is we'll give the full context of what it is. The second thing is, interestingly, AI can play roles, right? It can play any role you want. Let's say if you even want to have a conversation with a personality like Mahatma Gandhi or Vivekananda, we can say, you are Vivekananda and guide me through this process, right? It has entire knowledge of his books, his speeches, so it can take on that role. We're not going to that personalized level, but we can say you are a B2B marketing strategist, for example, or you are a lawyer with 25 years of experience in corporate law. So once we assign it a role, it helps to streamline its thinking and keep it very specific to our needs. So it won't give any generic output. It will kind of refer to only the knowledge base that is kind of related to the topic that we're talking about. So instead of the general assistant one, we kind of going to a very specific one. Any questions here before I move on? Okay. So if there are no questions, I'll continue. The third thing is interview. A lot of times.
Uh,
Okay, Dr. Geraldine, go ahead.
yeah, yes.
Uh, Ranjit, though I mean, we are making use of artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm,
the problem I see here is, you're saying you give your expertise, and
mm-hmm,
of course, the machine has all this information, data, and so on. But
mm-hmm,
then, I mean, that's the problem actually with all this crime and, a lot of abuse of this way of interacting.
mm-hmm.
I mean, who's fed this information? The source of this, which the machine has. It's not human. It's not a human being. It has gathered all this information, right, globally. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
recently, those two children who, with the information, I think they were, scrolling for information on suicide, and literally they went and committed suicide. The parents are suing, these, I mean, these kind of sources, the machines, because they're
Yeah.
not human. It's not human, all said and
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah. So that is a very important thing that we need to remember, and we'll go into those things as well, Dr. Geraldine. You're absolutely right. So this is a machine, right? Now, ChatGPT, OpenAI, the company behind it, or Anthropic, the behind Claude, right? They have fed everything into it, right? All the medical science books, all the healthcare books, uh, everything, anything we can think about it. It's like just not internet, right? Google was only internet, but this has actually gone beyond that. So, like for example, it has Vedas in it, it has Sanskrit books, it has books in every language, every faith. So you can imagine the amount of information it has. So it is up to the us, right? Again, we can't blame the tool, because being a doctor, you already know that if you give a knife, you can use it to stab someone, or you can use it to save someone's life. So this is, again, we just need to remember it's a tool, it's not a person. So that's why I was saying we need to use the tool properly, even for ourselves, so that we don't need to land into trouble. And yesterday there was a big news where Deloitte actually created this, big reports for Australian government or someone, and there was a lot of hallucination in it. Because I think what these big companies also do is they kind of take in turns throwing in AI and kind of get an output just to save money, right? But no one has doing the due diligence of checking the output. Is it real? Are the stats real? Is the quotes that the AI is submitting real? So those are all things which we can actually put in place using a framework. So we will ask it, for example, let's say you're doing a research on medical topic. We'll ask it to refer to only certain magazines, medical magazines, and ignore everything else that you trust, right? These journals are pretty good, they're vetted by peers. So we'll ask it to vet it there. And personally, what I do when I do research is I ask it to give me the source, give me the exact quote before it kind of does a summary, so that you can be doubly sure does that quote exists in the article, and the summary is taken from that quote, and you have the exact link from where that is coming from. So these are some things we absolutely need to do, especially in training, when we actually talking to a lot of people. If we kind of misquote that, that's a big reputation risk for us. I hope that answers your question.
I
So
think, Ranjit, what about
mhm.
the age of the person? This is fine for adults with a critical thinking, to be able to discern. And also the data, as we were discussing,
Mhm.
it has been found. There are studies to say that it is prejudicial. A lot of
Yeah, again, this is all, it's a machine, Geraldine. So, when people blame AI, right, it's not AI that we should blame. It is the people who are programming it, right? When you say a bias, right? For example, if I'm kind of feeding 10 resumes to it, I have to, as an HR person, I need to give it proper prompts saying that, don't differentiate between when women or transgender or on the age. If you don't give those things, right, whatever default things it's trained on, let's say it's fully trained on US data more than Indian data, it will be culturally biased. And it will probably, maybe pick people who are a little more vocal, or a little more, exaggerating their experience than the one who are introverts. So again, we have to remember it's a tool, and any tool we can program it. Even AI, we can program it. That's why the specific functions come in, wherein we don't actually give it the full control, but we tell the parameters, we set the guardrails as what to look for, how to filter, how to, kind of evaluate people or mindsets. Or without that, it will go haywire. Just like, if you're picking a random person on the street, right? It's just like we pick a random human. You can't expect them to be exactly what you have in mind, right? They might be biased. They might have their own cultural values. AI is similar way. So we'll have to ask it to follow certain parameters before we kind of give it any kind of work. And age-wise, again, it's up to us, right? I think luckily people have recognized that, and now few schools have started kind of taking that into color, or having consultants come in explain to students how to use AI, not to just do their homework. They can absolutely help take AI help to do their homework, but also to understand the concept, right? Just not copy pasting it. So these are things that it's the responsibilities on us than AI, and how we train kids to use it properly. Uh, okay, I'll move on. Maybe things become a little more clear as we get into this, because this is exactly the kind of thing that we're trying to solve. The third thing is interview. A lot of times when we are starting, we ourselves are not very sure as to what all we are, thinking through. Even if we say, like, I'm a startup and creating a marketing plan, I'm not very sure of a few things. So we need to ask AI to interview us. Then it will ask us the questions like, are you planning the startup in just Hyderabad or other metro cities like in Bangalore? Or do you want this service to available all over India? Or do you think in global level, right? So this will also help us to clarify for ourselves what are we looking for. With that, it will become a lot more clearer, whether it's training material, whatever output that we're trying to create. So this interview is very important, and depending on the time, right? Let's say if you're constrained from time, you can also ask it to limit it to 3 questions or 5 questions, and then we can get that job done. But depending on how invested you are in the outcome, I would say it's important to spend a lot more time on this process than just otherwise. What will happen is it will give some output, and you'll spend 1 or 2 days on kind of taking that output, correcting it, enhancing it. So eventually you lose that time anyway. Now, synthesize is where you basically AI takes our answers, it takes the context, takes the role, and it will confirm with us, is this what you want me to do? Right? So so that it will synthesize everything, kind of collectively think as a person, like we are explaining a child, and the child after some time says, okay, this is the task, this is what you want me to do, right? So this is the same way. It will basically synthesize and we need to confirm. So once that is done, like for example, let's say it says, okay, you want me to create training material for executives, um, and if you see that there's something missing, then you can add it in. Like for example, let's say these are executives in the Fortune 500 companies, right? You can add in that detail. So then it will take that also into consideration, so that it can talk to about the scale at which the solutions that we are proposing, rather than a startup. So all those things, we'll have, and we can actually go through a demo where we see all this. The last one is partnering, where we co-create the strategy along with each step, right? Before creating the training material, right? I'll say just give the outline, so that I can look at the outline, see if it matches what I have in mind. Because again, it's very important to remember we are the expert here. AI is not the expert. It has all the knowledge, but we need to drive towards the outcome that we want our students or our trainees to experience. So this is where you kind of look at the outline, say, I like the first 4 steps, but let's change the fifth and sixth. Let's have an interactive element here. Let's say you have a second session post lunch. A doesn't know that, right? Like after lunch, people are sleepy. It doesn't know that. So you need to give context. So after the break, a lunch break, we'll have to have something interactive where people move around, introduce themselves, some kind of activity so that they get over their sleep. So these are inputs that we need to give by partnering with them. So I'll move on to the next one. So, so I've explained this, what's the best way to get value, right? But it also helps to understand why this works, right? A lot of times when we also kind of sit down with a consultant, we like, for example, if I sit down with Ashish saying that, I need your guidance, Ashish, can you help me with something? The first will, Ashish will also ask me, what is the context? What is the help I need? What are the constraints I'm facing? What are the limitations? What are my strengths, right? He will ask a lot of questions before he'll give me any advice or before he'll coach me. So it's the same thing with AI, where basically it kind of mirrors that kind of thinking where just as a, even as a doctor, the way you would ask a patient all the questions before kind of jumping to a diagnosis, here also we're trying to do the same thing. Yeah, and also to be able to kind of leverage the full potential, it's better to give as much as context as possible to it, because as humans we probably kind of infer a lot of things. Like when Ashish made he knows a lot of things about me, just looking at me, my age, my profession, he'll infer a lot of things. But AI can't do that, right? So we'll need to provide all the information to it so that it can kind of come up with the right kind of uh, strategic thinking that will help us to create the right material. And I said this, what we are trying to do is all front load the thinking. Now, with the front loading, what happens is whenever we create the output, it will be close to 80 to 90% close to what we have in mind. Without this, what will happen is it'll create a generic output. We'll also see how that happens. And then we'll spend the next 2 days kind of revising it, refining it, trying to find examples, again, Googling what other people, case studies are there and all that. So if you're able to front load it, it can do a lot better. And this is something we just discussed, right? We need to give it precise focus because it has millions of facts. We need to kind of uh, direct it to a certain thing. For example, if I'm creating something for doctors, I would ask it to just limit it to only journals that most doctors read about. It won't go to entrepreneur.com and all those kind of things. It will just limit to that facts that it knows about the medical industry or medical professional or any journals or surrounding that. So it's very important that we kind of narrow down the focus depending on the topic that we are trying to discuss with AI and the training material that we are trying to create. Now, because we have some information and AI has a lot of information, this combination gives amazing results. For example, I'll give you a simple example. Let's say if you want to even create a website, right? Today, AI helps us to do that. But if I say, I know a few user experience facts as a developer. If I ask you to say, refer to the UX principles, user experience principles, before you do the website, it will take that into account. Yeah, now, if I don't mention it, it won't take that into account. So what will happen is it has the breadth and scale, but you need to guide us. That's where the magic comes in. And if I'm able to use the UX rules to develop a website, what will happen is it will cover a lot of scenarios where we wouldn't have thought through. Like what is the attention span? How do we engage? It's better to have one button instead of three buttons because that will distract people. How do colorblind people see this? Like, for example, blue text on green is not visible. Those kind of things we don't know, but AI knows that. So it will eliminate all the mistakes we potentially would have made. So that is where our expertise plus AI scale can do wonders for us. And this is the other thing is, instead of crafting the output and keep refining it, if we spend 20 minutes kind of, on the prompt when we're doing it, giving it all the context, role, and then the output would be a lot more better. So it's actually investment more than anything else for us. And this is a kind of a different view of things. but I think it will help all of us to kind of know these. Uh, and I'll go into 4 of these things one by one, and I'll explain why this is important when we work with AI. When we talk about context, right, there are different types of context, right? One is audience that we discussed a little bit. Then there's also the environment context. Uh, like, are we doing it in a lab, or am I doing it in a conference hall, and all those kind of things? And are we doing it for people from US, or people in India? Then also we can kind of rope in a little bit of culture, context, and expertise. And the most important thing, a lot of people I feel don't focus on this enough. We also need to share with AI what our goal is, right? Are we seeking a change within a short time frame, or a long time frame? Do we give an assessment at the end of the course so that we understand how much did people get out of this session? This is this one of those things that takes a long time, right? Like, for example, if we take communication skills, soft skills training, this is not something that will be with a switch on we can make that person change. It will take some time. So sharing those goals also will help. So when I say context, we need to kind of think at different levels, so that our whatever output that we create for training material will be of top class quality. Uh, Now, this is very specific to how we use AI tools. A lot of times, what we do is we go to ChatGPT or Claude, we use a session. I might, let's say if I'm just getting weekends to work on this training course, this Saturday I'll start, I'll do something. Then again, when I log in the next time, I start a new conversation, and then uh, start with my thinking. So what happens is the history is lost. Like AI, and the way we'll say this is, it kind of maintains the context within a thread. It maintains the context within a project. So ideally, it helps to wrap something that we are continuously working on. Let's say we are working on creating a book. It's better to create a project around it. So even if you have different threads, it will have a memory of what all we discussed. So even if it takes 6 months for us to complete the book, review the book, edit the book, all the ideas, marketing plans, it will have the full context in the project. That is very useful for us. Otherwise, every time you can't go on giving it the context, role, and everything, right? So it's a one-time setup, and it basically builds on each iterative, each meeting that I have, at each conversation that I have with AI, right? It keeps building on it, and we'll all be on the same page even after 3 months, and we both would have evolved our understanding based on our conversations. If you're using APIs, I won't get into that too much, but there are also project assistants where we can build a knowledge base, which that can refer to, so that the context stays with that. These are called project assistants, and which is very similar to kind of maintaining history and context. So this is the other idea where I feel a lot of people don't take the full power of AI. We can actually give it a very personalized knowledge base. Like, for example, right, today in Empower, I help the marketing team. Now, we are in the business of students who want to go to US or Canada, but can't afford it, can't have a co-signer, can't give collateral. It's based on future potential. So for us to be able to reach those students, we kind of operate in 190 countries. So it's a huge kind of a student base that we work with. So we need to understand, what are these students searching for? What are their parents searching for? What are the concerns that they have? So what we do before we generate any material, marketing material or websites or WhatsApp messages, I can go to Quora, I can go to Reddit, I can go to Rediff, I can ask AI to kind of crawl all these content systems which are available to it, and try to understand and give me a deep research report on what are parents asking, what are the students asking, what are their concerns. Is it about affordability? Is it about getting a job after graduation? So it kind of collects all that and creates a report for me. Now I use that report, I download it into a PDF format. Then I can give it to my project, which will be create content. So then when I ask it, can generate 6 topics that will be most resonate with students between 21 to 26 and based in India or based in Bangladesh, it will know exactly what to prompt. If I give a generic query, it will be very, very generic. It won't be that powerful. But because I have this deep research report with it now, it is able to, like a very subject matter expert, right, who deeply knows the subject, it's able to prompt. These will be from India, these are the main things. From Pakistan, it might be different, right? It might be culture. Their currency devalues much faster than India. So, like any student who takes a loan today, like it might not only the loan, but also the currency devaluation adds to their payment schemes. So there are different concerns for different countries. So I can be very, very specific when I'm trying to target parents or students with how we can help them and what we can offer. So this is and this knowledge base can be documents. If you're advanced, it can be also kind of we can create APIs to a different database, things like that, so that it can pull information from there. For example, if I'm a IT project manager, I might connect it to my Jira or Confluence. And whenever asked about a project, it will be able to query what all the tickets are created, what are in the solved state, what are work in progress, and it will give me a summary. So that is like very powerful resource for us to amplify our intelligence before producing any report or content. This one is very simple. This is like basically, there are different types of tools for ideation and brainstorming. We could use one for content creation. We can use one depending on the strengths. For coding, we can use one. For visual design, there are some other tools. And a lot of these tools that we already use are building in AI capabilities. So it's better to pick the one platform which is closest to where the output lives. So for example, if I'm trying to create a website, Squarespace or any other website like that, they have already AI built into it. So I don't need to use ChatGPT or anything. I can directly go and use their studio to create the content. So these are the 4 pillars. Um, any questions? I'll stop here before moving on. I know it's been a lot of content.
Yeah, Ranjit, one question. When you say tool selection strategy, can you also suggest or recommend different kind of tools for different functions or different kind of work?
Yeah, let's go through a few, especially in the QA session once I'm out of
Okay.
this, because there are a lot of options. And the challenge here is everybody is like coming up like with the AI growth or the tools are improving in weeks, not even months, right? So today I might say, Gemini is good at because I think about 3 weeks ago, uh, Google won that war of creating videos and images. Now ChatGPT caught up with it, saying that we can do better than that. So it's a constant movement. Uh, so it will keep changing. So, but ideally, we can look at a few things that will help us. For example, uh, most people agree, and including myself, Claude, which is a tool by Anthropic, which I'll show, is much better at content creation than ChatGPT or Gemini. The way it creates content, the smoothness, how it creates, is a lot better. So if you're kind of writing articles, I would suggest that's probably the best uh, thing for us, even training material. But if you have a lot of data analysis, there's something called Julius, where we can upload spreadsheets, and it will basically do wonders, which ChatGPT also can't do, wherein it will do the stats, it will do the correlations. It can even do ML models just by prompting, saying that like, if I give loan projection scenario based on um, let's say who did masters and who don't have masters, it will be able to do all those kind of things on own. Before we used to need data scientists, but today we don't. So we'll definitely walk through a few of those.
Thanks.
So this is kind of more like a recap for us. Like we start with ideation, we do research, we create, we refine, and then we personalize. So this, I think by default, we all go through this. But with AI also, it's better that we kind of follow the same thing rather than expecting if we just give the idea, it will do everything for us. So we need to be, lock in step with it, where we are kind of, jointly doing the research, providing the research to it, asking it to use only this research. And when it creates, we also kind of give it more context, use these user experience principles, use only pastel colors if that is what I feel is a lot more visually appealing. And of course, refining, right? Once we have the outline, for example, we refine it, we give it more information as to what we would like. And finally, personalization, like, what kind of exercises we would need to use based on the audience and things like that. So this is, kind of again, how we design a workshop. This is exactly what we talked about. We set the context. We kind of say what all resources we have. Like, for example, are we in a conference room? Are we in a lab? Things like that. And then we are able to create a workshop based on how the session would roll out. Because sometimes we might have 90 minutes, sometimes we might have a full day session. So we have to give all that information so that the outline, the time, and how the timing works for each of the sessions. We introduce like live workshops versus conversations using presentation. All those things can be done. Another fantastic thing about AI is now if I develop one training material, right, I can use that and restructure it or repurpose it based on different kinds of learners. Like if I say, some people are visual learners and they can't really sit through and hear long lectures. So I could the same material I can ask it to develop in a visual way so that we use more images than text. And some people are very analytical, so there we'll say give us a lot of case studies, give a lot of stats as to where this has happened in real world, so that we can actually appeal to the analytical learners who want everything to be analytical and logical and just not theory. And finally, there's kinesthetic learners, right, where people learn by actually doing. So there we could suggest that give me an idea for a workshop based on the whatever training we develop. So using the same material, we can repurpose to different audience, different ages. So this is one great help, which does it in minutes once we have kind of collected the content, everything. And this is, I feel like, really a big time saver for all of us. And I was like, as in the start of conversation, what we were having, Dr. Geraldine, right? This is where we need to watch out and remember AI is just a tool. No matter how eloquently it can talk to us, it doesn't have a consciousness. So it is basically kind of, creating output from based on the prompts we are giving, the kind of knowledge it already has. So, for example, yeah, if we say suggest an icebreaker, right? It wouldn't know. It will just suggest something random. And that's where we need to say who the audience is. Is it, are we going to a kindergarten for this training session, high school students, or, or C-level executives? Because how we break the ice also matters, right? The kind of questions we ask. So this is where we need to be able to know how to work with AI, what to share with it. And again, if we talk about conflict resolution techniques, right, it really you wouldn't know what to do with it. It might create a quiz, but in your mind, you want your audience to know, kind of act out or a role play. So that's when the real learning comes in, right? When you're confronted, how would you react to this when someone says this to you? So those are things that we need to kind of give very clear, precise instructions. Now, strengths again, like we discussed, it has a lot of, it has a lot of knowledge. It can give us a lot of options. It can structure information beautifully. In fact, in a study, what they found is when a startup pitch deck was done by humans versus AI, and when venture capitalists, chose the presentation deck that they wanted to fund, if this was a blind study, they didn't know which were created by humans or which were created by AI. Almost 70 to 80% VCs chose the ones that were done by AI because it kind of knew what was looking for people, what VCs would look for, what data to present, how to make it very persuasive for them. So it can be a great help if you know how to use it the right way. Blind spots, like I said, the example I gave, for example, people have just come on to our session after lunch, they're feeling sleepy. It wouldn't know that, and we would need to program that into it. So these are a lot of blind spots will be there. We'll also know, doesn't know how do we interact with people who are introverts or, how do we, or extroverts, how the content needs to be different. Once we give it context, it will be able to suggest, but on its own, it won't be, it will kind of, the content will be very bland and we'll need to kind of give as much input about the group as well. So we basically are kind of, a coach for the AI as well, in some sense. We are kind of guiding it as to which path to take on. And finally, again, it's all about our instincts. We are still the expert. I think a lot of people miss this because they think AI is the magic answer. We see a lot of videos as well where they say you can make millions in AI, but not really. It depends if you have the all skills, of course you can do it. But if you have zero knowledge, AI can't really help you because you need to prompt it to do something. It's your expertise. Like if you're a psychologist, if you're an entrepreneur, if you need to be able to help it. Even if you're a street vendor, right? You can use AI to find the best times, best locations to be there. So AI can help you, but it can't make you a millionaire on its own. We need to have that expertise. We need to have our intuition and gut feeling about certain things, our ideas, our inclinations, our passions. Only then it will be able to help us. So here we'll kind of get into a demo. And before we get into demo, we'll open it to questions. So I've chosen a topic which has recently been in the news. So the idea is we as trainers are asked to train these very senior advocates on conflict resolution. So that is our assignment. We got someone senior in the government called us saying that this has happened, and someone has called us you. We don't want this to repeat. We want everybody to kind of maintain decorum. And I think it would help if you could come in and take a session on conflict resolution. How should people manage their anger? How should they react? Sounds good? So I'll stop here so that we can have short questions or interactive session before we kind of jump into how do we go about creating training for that session.
So there is a question in the chat from Jagdeep Ranjit. She says sometimes the answers appear so interactive as if a person is answering it. How does that happen?
Yeah, so again, the whole concept of LLM is it's able to predict language and the conversation based on whatever we are typing. So that's why I said the history is very important, right? If I keep talking to it about a certain things, it kind of knows our personality. It knows my interests, inclinations. If I keep talking about Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, it will start quoting from those texts. So that's why we feel it's almost like a mentor, guru, coach, a friend, whatever we want to call it, because that way it kind of remembers what all we talked about. Let's say we are using it to we have read something or we have saw a video which kind of moved us and we are discussing with that. So even after a week, it will remember that, and if, on a different context, it will bring up, It will say, remember this experience that you had. This is a confirmation of what would, that yeah, you're on the right path, and following your passions would kind of, create the right results for you. So that's why it's able to do that. And technically, it's just kind of predicting uh, based on the word choices that we have and the context that it's building about ourselves. And also, just on the flip side of things, right? Just like any commercial company, these people are also kind of giving disclaimers that your data, whatever we are sharing, can be used by the government or anyone. So we also need to be very careful on what we are sharing with it. Um, it's also kind of a give and take. Sometimes I feel like it's for me, it's okay if companies are looking at my data, but I'm getting more value from this. Sometimes it might not be, especially if it's something where you might for example, someone says, how do I avoid taxes? I've got 50 lakhs, but I don't want to pay taxes. Those kind of things can get you into trouble, even though AI can be helpful in answering them the moment government subpoenas OpenAI or anyone else for the records. Yeah, Dr. Geraldine.
Ranjit, quite a few of my friends actually were who were involved in the tech companies, very advanced kind of technological work, industry. Quite a few of them have left the field itself and gone back to nature. I think what we are discussing using, the AI is more conducive in a technological society. Now, take agriculture, for example, or even healthcare. Maybe, now they're working on robotic surgeries and they're accomplishing very, vital surgeries that could not have
Hmm.
been possible without these robots.
Hmm.
So I think, and training the trainer, you know, and making these tools available should also be very ethically, ethically and empathetically, caring for the human person. Again, I think we should keep this in mind. Otherwise, we are becoming part of why my friends have left this and, gone into the land and, going back to nature and living, a lot of it is because this technology is advancing so rapidly, and most people are not able to cope with the changes that are happening. Relationships, marriage, raising children. So I think that is why we have to be alert, not just accept all of this because maybe, it can be for. Maybe militaries, these kind of wars and this kind of advances that are happening, those can be applicable there. But simultaneously, we need to look into our humanity because transhumanism and some of these advanced societies are also facing that kind of a thing, you know. Like, say, for example, euthanasia. They've lost the meaning and purpose of life. And the individual person becomes meaningless. What is my purpose in life when all these tasks are being done by these machines and in a much better way than I could do it?
Dr. Geraldine,
Yeah.
what's your question, please?
My question is what Ranjit was just sharing is very applicable to a very highly advanced technological society. Even using this AI, we should simultaneously have social skills, that sort of a thing, Ashish, where, the social dimension also should be looked into because knowledge is power. And the machines, that is one of the thing. Actually, some of those machines actually kill those people.
Yeah.
Those scientists, in Japan, I think. The Boston, I mean, not Boston thing, but this, I know that some of these robots, that is the fear actually. Artificial intelligence advances so rapidly and they do not have that sense of humanity. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, the guardrails, I think that's a very important point. We
Yeah,
need
yeah.
guardrails for AI, which unfortunately is not there as of now. But maybe that will be topic for another session, Dr. Geraldine. Thanks for bringing that up. Uh, Ranjit, what I would like to understand is you mentioned about the four pillars. If you could maybe in next 10, 15 minutes or so help us, how do we actually do that? Where you're talking about building context. So where do we go and build that context? How do we do that? And if time permits, maybe one or two stories from your book that you have, how people have used AI to grow their business exponentially.
Sounds good. So let me jump into the kind of a demo. Then we can practically look at how this works. Okay, so let me go to Claude. You are able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
So we have projects here, like ChatGPT also, like if you go to ChatGPT also, it will have projects. So this is where you set up context and you are able to create one. So let's say if I go to Claude here, I say, so first I'll say create new project. I'll say this is just for our sake. We can name it anything.
Yeah, sure.
So once we give it this one, there are two options here. One is instructions. So this is where we basically, whether it's guardrails, whether it's search, we can limit it or expand it based on exactly what we want it to do, the way we want it to do. So this also we can use AI kind of to kind of come up with. So that's the beauty of AI. We can use AI only to learn about AI. So this is kind of what we say instructions. The second thing is here. So let's say if I quickly jump to Gemini here, so that we are just doing different tools. Let's say on how I'm just taking a random scenario where it's used to reduce stress and burnout, right? And I choose deep research. So what this does is it kind of goes through and basically it helps to create a very comprehensive report, which I can upload. And here, the beauty of it, it's basically going through the different steps that it will use, the different platforms it will use. And if I don't like anything, I can say, edit plan. So I can, say remove step 6 and things like that, and then go from there. So maybe let's do that. Let's see. So let's say if I don't want to, which one? Just because this is just a sample exercise, let me say so it would have updated it and it kind of removed it, right? Then we say start search. So this is what I'm talking about, where you always default to your own expertise in kind of guiding it through what steps to follow, what resources to do, and we can go from there. While it's doing this, let's also use, I don't know if I'm still able to use it because this is free version I'm doing. Say, I can ask it to generate a systems form. So I'm saying, give me a prompt that will give the content and also images to explain the context. So here also see, it kind of comes up with a role, right? Saying you're instructional designer and AI educator. And kind of, it's very, very, crisp, saying maximum 3 bullet points, image suggestion. And it's kind of giving an output, right? And we can change it. Do we want it to be conversational, confident? And one thing that helps AI is the number of examples we give, the better it will perform. So I copy this. This is like a systems prompt, like a guideline for our system. Then I go to Claude where I created the project. I kind of paste it here, save instructions. Looks like it's still creating a report. Okay, so it looks like it's done. It's basically exporting the research report. So it has the full report for me. It's about 16 pages, right? It is giving me the sources and everything so that I can also refer. Ideally, what we should be doing is we should read through it. We should check if the sources, as well as what is given here, matches. So this is the due diligence like we all have to do when we go with AI. The other thing that we can also do is we can give this report to another AI and ask it to do a fact check. That also helps to a certain degree. So I go to downloads. And we have everything here, what we need, right? So here also basically how we prompt makes a difference. Now, going to the example that we talked about, we need to train senior advocates on this end, right? If I simply say create a conflict resolution training, even though we have given some instructions, it will be very generic. So it's very, very generic, right? I don't think if we kind of create a training material with this kind of material, we'll be able to engage those seniors lawyers. So what we ideally need to do is kind of go back to a framework wherein, let me just copy paste that, the framework. So if this is basically nothing but kind of giving instructions again. So I go here, I go back to my projects. I start a new thread. Here I give the saying that, let's use the CRISP methodology to create training material. So here I say senior. Spelling mistakes are also fine. It knows what we're talking about. And we can choose. The good thing is it is giving us an options as to what direction we want to kind of go for. And though there's a mismatch between the NLP example I gave and what we're trying to do, it's kind of trying to make sense of both. So let's pick two, or we can even pick from here. Let's say ethical frameworks and regulatory gaps. So this is where it depends on the domain knowledge. And based on the domain knowledge, we can basically say, what do we want to do? So I'll say, pick or model after. And we can even stop it here and say, I'm basically stopped it from creating the content and said, just give me the outline first. And we can go and, correct any of the things that we would like to kind of change, things like that before we work with that. So this helps, and I've shared basically the framework with Ashish, and he'll be able to send it after the session so that you can actually copy paste it and just play with it for yourself. I've created 3 or 4 scenarios that you can play with and work through. Now, any questions here? Otherwise, we can go through some of the tools that we can use today.
Thank you, Ranjit. This is very useful. Ashish, you had a question, is it?
Yeah, I actually had wanted to ask, but I think I got the answer when he was doing the experiment. I saw that you're using mostly the free tools because I know that there is a capability difference between the paid tool and a free tool. But I use Perplexity because it's come complementary with my connections. So, but I think the method primarily remains same. The contextual setup or the crisp methodology will remain similar for any tool that I use, or it has to be, it is tailor made for each tool separately.
So it is for everything. Like for example, Claude, ChatGPT, and even Perplexity. I also use it, but again, it depends on our use case, right? I use Perplexity especially for deep research reports or kind of find local information. Let's say I want to find hospitals in this zip code or area. Perfect. It's almost like an AI search engine, right? Perplexity. And now they have also gotten into different things like finance and
Commerce,
everything
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So but now they have areas. So more or less all tools are kind of are coming to a certain maturity where we can switch everything. But again, the
Okay.
process will remain the same. We'll need to talk to it, think through it, and things like that.
Yeah, because so I run an HR consulting company. Sorry, I'm just taking a little bit more time. Okay.
Sure.
So when we do get job descriptions and we do get the profiles of the candidates, especially when we're talking mid and senior level. Okay, while we do the conversations, we feed in a lot of that information as a part of our input. But
Hmm.
I wanted to figure out, is there any tool specifically which I can use to do deep research on candidates? While we use it to do get some guidance, but is there any tool which I can do search and say, okay, this is the job description, this is the brief on the candidate client, this is my broad feedback on the job role we're looking at. These are key pointers, and can any tool give me feeders saying, okay, these are top 5 candidates considering all these parameters available in the market who may want to reach out to?
So a lot of these, it's not a limitation of AI, but companies have limited it. For example, if I asked Claude or ChatGPT to look up your profile and give me, a short gist of, what your strengths and weaknesses are, it won't be able to do it because LinkedIn has forbidden it to access their database because they have their own IP, right? They don't want these AI tools to take away their money generation. So that is the challenge. But today, for example, if you take the same example and kind of apply it to stock exchange, where you're trying to get all the data, there are companies that give APIs. So you can connect your ChatGPT to that API and it will flow the data. The same case in our case, right? Let's say there's a tool or a Naukri.com or a LinkedIn, which will give you an API to their candidate base. Then you can absolutely do what you're talking about.
Got it. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ranjit. This is really helpful. Thank you so much.
Mhm. So we'll go through one or two tools. I know we are almost
Ranjit,
Just
Ranjit,
one.
1 minute. I just want to make a point here.
Sure.
When Ashish was just talking about, search engines or whatever, I mean, there is a privacy issue, right? And you can only get what you have uploaded. Again, that would go into, private data, the privacy of an individual,
Today, there
Yeah.
is nothing like privacy anywhere. If you go to Facebook, WhatsApp, all these companies, if you look at the fine print, if everybody says they can use your data any way you want, unless you're a corporate signing a contract with them where we call enterprise licenses, right? That is the only time they don't share the data with anyone else.
But you can sue.
Otherwise,
You can be sued if you use information that
they are
let's say example these.
there are multi-billion-dollar suits now against
Yeah.
OpenAPI and Claude. They don't
Yeah.
care. They have the money. They have the legal power. But that's why I'm saying we have to be very careful what we upload. It's totally up to us. We can't expect any privacy, not
Yeah.
only AI, any tool, Gmail, whatever it is you're using, it's already with them. So AI is nothing new. What I want to emphasize is.
Okay, just one more question I wanted to ask. See, AI picks up data, whatever is available on the net,
Yeah.
and that data can be authentic or it could be absolutely false.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know whether AI would be able to differentiate that. And if you do not know or you are not able to direct AI, what sources to use? So just for an example, recently I wanted reviews on a particular property that I wanted to buy. Now
Mhm.
I asked that, okay, I mean, if, Perplexity and ChatGPT and, if they can get me feedback on that property or on that builder from,
Mhm.
and this building was under construction.
Mhm.
So it got me feedback and it kept on saying that the residents say this, the residents say this, the resident. Then I said, look, there are no residents right now because it's still under construction. And then it said, yes, it is still under construction. There are no residents. So then you can make out the information that you're getting is not reliable from AI itself. So how do we make sure that the information that AI is giving us for whatever research we are doing is authentic or not?
Yeah, so that's where this concept of hallucination exists, right? It's very important for us to review research this. One way to do this is to like if you have two or three different tools, pass the information that you have from one tool to another one, and ask it to fact check it. There are also a lot of fact checking tools today because of AI which have come up, which can do the fact checking. But for our own sake, right, when we do the prompt, like I always ask it to give me the source and exact quote before it is saying. Like, for example, in your case, it's saying the resident is saying this, right? Where did it say this? Which article? Who said this, right? Then it reduces because you're asking it to do that task, right? The hallucination goes down. And even saying after that, right? It's almost like a glorified internet. It because it's able to consume internet also, not just books, right? So the data still might be faulty. Like if you ask for it for a diet plan, it might come up with a crazy diet plan, which medically also might be totally irrelevant because some crazy hack said, just eat this and you'll be able to burn fat.
So that means we'll have to be careful in terms of what kind of information we are relying on through AI.
Absolutely. I mean, like, even senior lawyers got into issues because they relied on cases and they were quoting Supreme Court cases and all that. These cases never existed. Judgments were also passed. Then someone, hey, this case was never there. It was just made up by AI by combining the different cases.
So now linking it with what Ashish asked earlier, Ashish Mehta asked earlier, that if you're doing a research on a candidate, you still do not know whether you're getting authentic information or not.
No, we can't. It will, like, for example, I give it a resume, it will just parse the resume. What AI can help to do is, if, because of Ashish's experience, right? His brain power, he'll be able to guide AI, look for these things, right? If someone is saying they're a web developer and they're talking about some other tool, ML tool, we can flag those things like, I'm looking, this guy seems to have put everything in his resume, which are not related to his job. So those kind of things we can, using our expertise, which we know in real life, we can program them into a saying that anytime there's a mismatch between the skill set, experience, tools, ignore those resumes. Things like that. And a lot of companies, I think they also have the subscriptions to databases. So you can mix and match. Like you can say, for example, if companies can scrape LinkedIn, even though LinkedIn doesn't give, sometimes companies are able to, like if Ashish goes, downloads the LinkedIn profile of the candidate because he can, and he'll give the resume, say what matches, what doesn't match. It will be able to do that to a level that we humans can't be able to go to that level of detail. I'll give you a good example where AI is amazing. We use chatbot, which a lot of controversy, but we have seen amazing results. When our customer service, we say humans are better, right? But a lot of times what we've seen is humans have a very short attention span and they can't go through details. So one candidate reached out to us saying that they need a visa letter, their name was spelled wrong or something like that, right? What AI was able to do is it was able to catch that. So humans is very important wherein we give the domain expertise and everything else. But AI, like detail work, right? We can help our customer service representatives to actually catch that. So we always believe it's augmenting. It is not about removing jobs, or it is basically anyone who is doing a job, it will help them to do it much better. Whether it's a website designer or whatever skill set you have, at least that's what my take is, where it's kind of helping me to do my job better because I'm able to look at a lot of skills.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ranjit. It's almost 6:20 and time nearing last 10 minutes of our session. We like you, from your questions and highly engaging interaction. It's obvious that the session has been really appreciated by you. Kindly fill out the feedback form that we are sharing in the chat. It will take you less than 30 seconds. And, then we will resume our discussion. In the meanwhile, Badal, Ruchi, Suresh, Anupam, do you have any questions or comments? We'll be happy to-
Ranjit, I want to know this image generation, which is a tool we can use.
Today, there are a lot of them. Gemini, you can use ChatGPT, but one of the things we have to look at is the licensing. Like for example, if you have a personal Gemini account, it will create amazing images, but you won't be able to use a commercial license. To use a commercial license, like for example, if you want to use that image in a presentation or on a website, they'll ask you to kind of take a commercial license for image generation, which is Google Studio or something like that, and then use those images. Whereas ChatGPT, you can use the image commercially also. They give you all the usage rights.
Even the regular chat GPT we can use, or it's only paid version?
No, regular ChatGPT also we can use, but only thing is you'll exhaust your tokens very fast.
Oh, okay.
And there's something called Napkin AI. I've started using it quite a bit. What it does is anytime
What
you
is
want
that?
to
Napkin?
napkin AI.
Napkin
I'll send
AI.
some. Yeah,
Okay.
let me paste it if you can here.
Ranjit, in
So
fact, there's a request if you can share the tools, AI tools that you mentioned about. That will be
sure,
helpful.
maybe we'll follow up, Ashish,
Yeah, sure.
on the email because there are quite a few. But
Yeah,
at least
sure.
this one I'll just paste in the chat. This is neat because a lot of time we have bullet points and things like that or tables. If you paste this into Napkin AI, it creates amazing visuals so that people can understand it in a processed way. So that's one tool that I started recently using. It's pretty good. Uh,
Okay.
this does it on its own, whereas in ChatGPT we'll need to formulate what visualization we need, but this has very specific prompts that already built in.
Okay.
So I also noticed the presentation that you were doing is not a PPT. You made it on Gamma dot app. Thing.
Yeah, Gamma is pretty good. It does images and content. So typically what I do is I use Claude to kind of think through the material training, what I need to do, come up with an outline, some content, then I use Gamma. So that way it is exactly what you want. But it's pretty good. It's only $5. I take a paid version because it's $5 per month. It's worth it. The amount of effort it takes to create slides.
Ranjit, you've taken us through the first pillar. Would it be okay if we take the remaining 5-7 minutes to go through the other pillar?
The I think everything is built into what we saw, Ashish. So all the four pillars are just nothing but kind of maintaining the context, maintaining the history, kind of using the tools, the choice of tools, and kind of partnering with it to get done. So it's a very simple process, and I think once the email that we'll send out with the prompts, right? Once we do that, I think everybody will get how to get the best output.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that, Ranjit. Any last comments or questions? And then we'll be happy to close the session. Yes, Dr. Chirag.
So I see one question, can we delete history from AI tool? So technically we can, but I think they will still retain history, just like you delete a Gmail, but Google might still have it in the databases. So we can't reliably say, but one option ChatGPT and Claude gives, let's say if you're trying to talk a sensitive topic, let's say about uh, your partnership, or you're having issues with your spouse and you just want to brainstorm it and you don't want to save anything into that, there's an option for temporary chat, right? And temporary chat, what they say is it doesn't store the context, so after it closes it disappears. So what I advise is using the temporary chat version whenever you don't want to save it or take that conversation anywhere.
Thank you, Ranjit. Dr. Chirag, we couldn't hear you. Did you have a question?
No, Ashish. I just said thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Dr. Chirag.
Yeah, I just wanted to, say, of course, thanks to Ranjit ji. And along with that, since we are at the verge of the closing, would love to hear about his book in few lines or something, so which may create interest to go for it. Although it is unavailable on Amazon, just now I checked.
Okay, it should be there. Maybe I gave the wrong link, but it should be there.
I mean, not available, out of the stock, it shows that in a way.
Oh, okay. So, okay, yeah. Okay. So I was resonating with my personal journey. I used to work with IBM and Red Hat, and when they decided to kind of lay off their senior employees because of cost cutting and things like that, right? Luckily, I used to work. I'm familiar with AI. I come from a tech background, and that's this ChatGPT had just come out. Then I had started working with it. So for me, I feel like, whenever we have a displacement, we are caught in a situation where we are kind of question ourselves, our skill set is valid or not valid, how I can improve, especially when we get into 40s, it gets even more critical. So what I've seen is AI can help us a lot there. Even in my personal journey, that's true, where it made a tremendous difference there. Being able to kind of think of new ways in which we can use technology, we can coach people, things like that. And what I try to do in the book is, of course, I've laid out those examples, methodologies, but I've also taken 10 stories. The reason I've created stories, just like Ashish knows, we humans relate more to stories than if I just talk about an entrepreneur who built this tool. It won't be that interesting. He'll say, I had an idea, I tried it, it worked, right? So, but here I wanted to kind of explore how different people can make use of AI. I took a doctor who fights insurance claims using AI because all the big insurance companies use AI, right? How do we process insurance claims, denials using AI, and she wins. I took an example of a graduate who becomes a taxi driver because there are no jobs. How he uses AI to kind of combine WhatsApp chats that these cab drivers have in Bangalore to be able to catch the good rides that they can get. So similarly, a bartender, right? She notices a lot of fake reviews get people in trouble at different places. She tries to create an app where it groups people based on interest, trust level, and things like that. So it's very open to anyone. Once you bring your idea and expertise, you can build tool. A lot of times we might or might not have the skill set, but in the stories also they always partner. The graduate partners with his professor, the doctor partners with her office manager who's a techie, and the law firm, the paralegal partners with a brother who's a gamer and who's into code. So it's always collaboration. We don't have to do it alone. If you have anyone in our circle who is a little more familiar with it, and we being industry expertise, then it's really possible for us to create something amazing and disruption oriented. So that's what I wanted to showcase.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks,
Bharat, you have a
Ranjit.
final word?
Ranjit, thanks a lot. It's been a very informative presentation. I really appreciate it. I mean, you come across as a very wise, learned person, and at the same time, very humble and emotionally intelligent person. I really appreciate your work.
True.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Padal. Thanks for the kind words.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for
Thank
this
you.
session
Thank you,
today
Ranjit.
and participating actively.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you
much,
very
Ranjit, for sharing so much of context and these frameworks, which will help us really use AI in a manner that can help us grow 10x. So on this happy note, I'm wishing everybody a lot of growth in the days to come. We'll connect soon with our next session. That please stay tuned for the details in the group. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Ranjit. Thank you,
Thank
Ashish ji.
Good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ranjit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ashish.
Thank you.